Hello, this is Rusty Williamson with another cool tutorial. Today we'll be creating this smoke and fire scene. The fire that you see at the bottom, the flames, is actually created in another tutorial. The link for this tutorial is in the comments below. So let's get to it. We'll do File, New Project. First we'll create a new composition. We'll call it Main Comp. It can be 1920 by 1080, 30 frames per second, 8 seconds long. Then we'll create a new solid. We'll call this Particle. We'll change it to white and say OK. Now we'll take the pen tool and create a shape. We want it to be sort of a half circle. Sort of like a kidney shape. And we'll press F and feather it out, like so. We'll take our particle and pre-compose it and call it Particle. Move all attributes and open it. Now we have our particle comp. We'll go back to our main composition, create a new solid, call it Particles. And we'll add the effect CC Particle World to it. We'll hide our particle, advance the time so we can see what we're doing, and we will open the producer and bring the Y position down so that it's at the bottom of the screen. We want our smoke coming from the bottom of the screen. Then we'll open the physics and change explosive to fire. We'll open the particle, change it from line to textured faded disk. Then we'll open the texture properties and specify for the texture layer our particle. We'll up the rotation speed to about 240. We'll take the birth size and we'll up it until we have a solid, until it turns solid at the bottom. Then that's about 1.16. We'll take our depth size and turn it up until it goes solid. Something like that. We'll go back into the physics properties and we'll go down to the gravity vector and we'll adjust the gravity X until it's slanted just a little. Like so. That might be too much. It's better to have this sort of level, sort of even on the horizontal, or the vertical rather, and this bent. Because our fractal noise is going to be traveling up and we don't want it to be too slanted. Alright, now we'll take our particles and our particle layer and pre-compose them. Call this Particles. We'll go back to our main comp and we'll create a new solid. No, take that back. First we're going to take our particle comp and pre-compose it again and call this Particle Timing. We'll go back to our main comp. And now we'll create a new solid and call it noise. We'll add fractal noise to it. We'll change the fractal type from basic to dynamic twist. We'll up the contrast a tiny bit, maybe to 138, and we'll down the brightness to about a -7. We'll open the transform properties, and we'll alt-click on the offset turbulence and enter the expression open bracket 0, comma, time times -750, close bracket. Then we'll scroll down and get the evolution and alt-click on it and enter the expression time times 200. Let's see what we've got. That looks pretty good. We'll select our noise layer and pre-compose it. Call it noise. Move all attributes and open it. Now we'll go back to our main comp. We'll drag the noise layer down below our particle timing and set the track mat to particle timing, therefore putting our fractal noise into the shape we created with the particles. Select both layers, once again pre-compose them, and call this shape. We'll go back to our main comp. Next we'll bring in our fire element. Once again, the link to the tutorial to create this fire element is in the comments below. Drag this onto the layer and we'll go up and select the pan behind tool and lower the central pivot point down to the bottom. So when we scale it, it scales nicer. Now we'll hit S and we'll scale it down until the smoke just covers the outside of the flames, like so. Now we'll see what we've got. Let's set our endpoint for the comp, or set our work area to a shorter length so we don't have so much to do. And also, let's go back to our particles pre-comp. Set the time marker at 0 and slide our particle layer over until it's fully engaged. Then take the endpoint and extend it all the way to the end of the composition. That gets rid of that awkward startup. Now let's see what we've got. What we want is we want the smoke just above the flames to be going at the same speed as the flames. Both the particles and the fractal noise. Fractal noise looks about right. The particles are way out of alignment. So we'll go to our particle timing comp and slow them down. We'll add an adjustment layer and we'll add the effect time warp. And we'll lower this down to 20. Now we'll go back to our main comp and see what we've got. We want our particles going about the same speed as our fractal noise at the bottom. That's where we're looking. And that looks about right. Now the next thing we'll do is we'll go to our noise layer and create a new adjustment layer, and we'll add time warp to it. And we will take the adjustment layer and using our rectangle tool, first let's turn on our proportional grid and hide our fractal noise, and we will draw a mask a little bit lower than the second grid, like so. Then we'll copy that adjustment layer and we will adjust the mask come up like this, up like this, just a little below the second grid from the top. We'll unhide our fractal noise. Let's see what we've got. Okay, I can tell right now we forgot to feather our masks. We'll feather each one up to about 100. That looks better, but our top one's moving too fast. So we'll go to the top adjustment layer, and knock this down to 20. Now we'll see. That might be too slow. No, that's about right for now. We can come back and adjust it later. Now what we need to do is create a new solid. We'll call this one tint, and we'll change the color of it to something fiery, something like that. Say OK, and we'll take our rectangular tool again and draw a mask. Kind of screw that mask up down to the bottom, but right there. We'll feather it out. Good deal, about 217. Then we'll hit T for opacity and lower the opacity until we can just see the fractal noise underneath it. We'll take the tint layer and duplicate it and move the mask up to about the first grid layer, maybe just a little below it. And this one will only be 1 grid thick. Something like that. We'll be coming back and adjusting these later. And now hit T for transparency and turn it down to about 40 or 48, somewhere in there. Now let's see. It's looking pretty good. Let's see what our main comp looks like. It's coming along. We need to go back to our particle timing comp, turn on the proportional grid, whoops, turn it on, and then duplicate the adjustment layer. take the rectangular tool and draw a mask like so. We need to change this to 50. Then we need to duplicate this layer again. Change this to 20. And adjust the mask to the upper half. Sort of like so. Now let's see what it looks like. Forgot to feather our masks. Always forgetting that. Feather the top one out to about 100. And get the second layer and feather it out to about 100. Now let's see what it looks like. Let's get rid of the portion of grid. And let's take a look. That looks reasonable. Let's see what our main comp looks like. I think our fractal noise on this mid layer here is going a little too fast. We'll go to our noise pre-comp. We'll go to our second adjustment layer. And it's going too fast, so let's slow it down to about 30. That's going to slow down our upper layer, but let's look first and see what it looks like. Need to speed the upper layer up a little. So we'll select the top adjustment layer and adjust this to 30. Let's go back to our main comp and see what it looks like. The fractal noise is almost going too fast down here at the bottom. That's our expression. So let's take a look. Fractal noise. Hit UU to get everything that's changed. Scroll down. There's our expression, the speed. I'm going to click on it and I'm going to change it to 600. Now let's see what it looks like. That's going to, of course, change all the other speeds. We slowed this down and this looks right now. But now this is too fast or too slow. It's too slow now. Come back to our noise. Select our bottom adjustment layer. And let's try 20. That's better. Our top needs to be speeded up now. No problem. Go to our fractal noise, select that. Bring this to 40. Now let's take a look. I think we're about there. Yeah. One thing we have to do is puff out the top. The smoke is floating up into the top, and the top is not floating up as fast and expanding more. So we'll come to our particle layer. We'll go back to our old favorite proportional grid. And to our particle layer, we will add an effect called liquify. We'll select the first tool, which is the push tool. And we need our tool to be larger. So we'll warp tool options and expand the brush size. Somewhere in there. And then we will puff the smoke out. Let's put it on frame 1, frame 0. Puff this smoke out. Now put a little contrast. We'll squeeze this in a little. Like so. Then we'll add an adjustment layer and add the effect Besner warp. And we'll just tweak it a little more.
Alright.
We'll go back and see what it looks like now. This will take longer to render because we've added liquify. That's why I did that last. So, okay. I think it's getting pretty close. Alright, let's have a look. I think that looks pretty good. Maybe the red is a little too high here. We'll come back to our noise layer, our noise pre-comp, and select the tint, view the mask, and just bring it down a little. Like so. There. I think we need to bring the speed mask down a little. Back to the noise. Go to the second mask. And just bring it down a little bit. Now we'll see. Yeah, that looks better. Alright, next we'll select the shape layer. We'll add an effect, a curves effect. Oops, that didn't work out. And we'll just darken it a little. And we'll go to the top, above the fire, create a new solid, call this Embers. And let's see. It doesn't really matter what color it is. And we'll add the effect particle systems, CC particle systems 2. Alright. First we'll take the producer and we will take and lower the producer to the bottom of the screen, because we want our embers coming from the bottom. We'll go into physics and change it to fire. We'll solo this layer so we can see what we're doing. We'll change the particles from line to faded sphere. We'll lower the birth size way down. It's almost 0. And we'll lower the death size way down. Say 0.15. Then we'll go up to the top of the properties and take the longevity and lower it down so the particles only appear on the bottom half of the screen. We'll preview this. These embers are moving much too fast. And we need to widen, up in the producer, we need to widen the X radius a little bit. Like maybe to 4. Maybe 5, 6, or 8. Yeah, 8. These embers are moving much too fast, so we're going to select the layer, pre-comp it, just call it Embers, say OK. Go back to the main comp, and then apply the time warp effect. Let's see what it looks like at 50. Yeah. Go to our Embers pre-comp. Extend this out. Put it at 0 frame. And reel this in until it's fully engaged, and then expand it out at the end. Let's go back to our main comp. I think that looks about right. We'll unsolo the layer. And we'll see what we've got. This is looking pretty good. We're going to add some smoke in front. We're going to take our shape layer and duplicate it. Move it below the embers. Then hit S for scale. Unlock the scale. And scale the width down until we can see flames on either side of it. Let's scoot it over a little, push position, and just move it over a little bit, maybe right in there. Now, select that shape layer, select the pen tool. Let's mask off everything but the red area. We have to press M and change from the mask from add to subtract, and then feather it out a bit. Let's see what we've got. That looks pretty good. I hope you've enjoyed the tutorial. If you have any questions or remarks, please post them below in the comments. And give this tutorial a like if you liked it or learned anything from it. Till the next one, I'll see you later.